Iron City built. It's time for the Steel City Nation podcast. Here's your host, Mark Mariday.
All right, my guest this evening is Leon Searcy, Pro Bowler, All-American, three-time national champion at the U, played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Leon, how are you doing this evening?
Man, I'm doing outstanding.
Excellent. I want to jump right into this with you because I know you're ready to go. You didn't start playing football right away in high school, am I correct?
Yeah, you're right.
So was it grades? Was it other interests? What took you a little bit to get going with it?
Well, to be honest with you, I was traumatized as a young boy when I was 10 years old. I don't want to go into the details of it because it's in my book, but I didn't have the confidence to play organized football because of it.
Okay.
And my mom was an educator. My mom was a school teacher, principal, and a counselor.
Oh.
And in middle school, I was a slacker, which means I could have been a 3.0 student, but I was like a 2.5, and my mom knew that. So after my ninth grade year, my mom knew I had a love for football and sports. I was real active in the community, playing ball, pickup ball, street ball. And my mom said, listen, if you want to play sports in high school, you can't play it until you have a 3.0. So you can only imagine me being 6'4", 275 pounds in high school and not playing ball. I got no attention from the ladies. Let me just say that because, ball attracts the women.
Yeah.
So, but then, to prove a point to my mom, I went into my junior year and I had a 3.75 grade point average. So I told my mom then, I said, is that good enough for you? I couldn't just get a 3.0.
Yeah.
I had to outdo her what she told me that she wanted. So I had 3.75, and I only played 1 year of high school football. Actually, my high school coach discovered me in the gym playing basketball. I didn't know he was in the gym. I was playing pickup basketball. I went up for a rebound. He saw me get up for a rebound and run the court. He ran in the middle of the court, and he said, his name is Bill Gerke. He said, son, are you new here? I said, no, I'm not new here, coach. He said, what year are you here? I said, well, I'm a junior now, but I'll be a senior next year. He said, you'll be a senior? You ain't never played no football? I said, no, coach, I haven't. He said, well, you're going out for spring. And I knew right then and there. And then that spring, I told my parents that Christmas, when I told my parents my kids would give me a weight room set. And from that point on, I just started training myself to get myself prepared for football.
How quick you pick the game up? I mean, the linemen to me, I coached forever. So the linemen to me are the smartest guy on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, how quick did you pick the game up? Because that's –
Well, you know what? What happened was I started spring ball as a third-string nose guard. They had me a nose guard, third-string nose guard. I wasn't getting any reps or anything. And we had a guy who was going into his senior year as well named Tony McCoy. He was a preseason all-state candidate. He was playing both ways. He was playing defensive tackle, and he was playing offensive line. He just happened to get hurt in practice. And they said, Searcy, go over there and play tackle. Now, they didn't think much of it. But when they moved me to tackle, and I got grips of it, got the grips of the plays and the techniques and the fundamentals, and I told myself, as that spring ball, I said, if they put me in at right tackle, I'm never going to leave this position. And then by the end of the spring, I was starting.
So you really didn't leave that right tackle position until you decided to retire from the NFL, to be honest with you. Am I correct?
Exactly.
So the recruiting process, you only played, your senior year. What was that like? Because you ended up at the U.
Well, it's funny because after the jamboree, the spring jamboree, I got my first two letters. My first two letters were from Florida A&M and South Carolina State.
Yeah.
And I remember that summer, my high school coach asked me, hey, Leon, what are you doing this summer? I said, I don't know, coach. He said, you're coming to summer school. And now, back in those days, if you went to summer school, that means you ain't had no grades.
Yeah, exactly.
But I had no idea what he was doing. He said, you coming to summer school. And back in those days, when your high school coach told you what to do, you did it.
Yeah.
All right. So I went to summer school from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 p.m. And when I was at summer school, my high school coach had me running stadiums, doing suicides, working on my technique, my fundamentals. He had me in the weight room. I was squatting and leg pressing and doing dumbbell pulls and dumbbell press. And then I would play pickup basketball. He told me to play pickup basketball. And he told me he don't want me to do anything but move my feet. He said, I want you to rebound and move your feet. Don't take any shots. So I did that all summer. So by the time the season, by the time the training camp came around, I was rock solid. I mean, I was lean, I was mean, I was a fighting machine.
Yeah.
So I went into my senior year, and initially at the start of the season, we were the number 1 team in the state. We were the number 10 team in the country. And I just had an outstanding high school year. So the last game of the season, my high school coach coming up to me and he tells me, "Hey, Leon, what school are you going to?" And he's talking to all the seniors. I said, "Well, coach, I only got 2 letters." And Miami's looking at me, and I'm not sure if Miami's looking at me. And my high school coach went behind his desk and he pulled out a box. And I had a box of letters from Miami, Florida State, Florida, LSU, Clemson, Notre Dame, Georgia, Auburn. And I was wondering, how did he have all my letters? What happened was my mom called him and she told him to make all the letters go to him because she didn't want me to have the big head throughout the season. So at the end of my senior season, I found out all the schools were recruiting me because not only did I have an outstanding senior season, but I also had the grades to go along with it.
Leon, did you start right away when you went to the U? I mean,
no, they had too much talent. They had too much. You got to remember, in 1986, I got there in 1987.
Yeah.
Miami had just competed for a national championship against Penn State, and they lost. So they had a lot of those starters returning that next year. So I was a redshirt freshman in '87.
That was like the Jerome Brown, and am I right? Is that who those guys were? Okay.
Alonzo Highsmith, Vinny Testaverde.
Yeah, but you still had a nice foundation there. You got to go in there, learn from those guys. Who was most influential on you in college? Who was the guy that helped to push you to that next level?
Well, actually, it was our defense. Our defense whooped our ass, to be quite honest with you. I developed a temperament for football because our defense was so good and so badass, and then they would talk trash. So I developed a temperament as an offensive lineman who played like a defensive tackle because our defense was so amazing, and they used to just whoop our ass in practice, and they helped build me into the player that I was at the University of Miami.
Who'd you face
I tell those guys all the time. When I talk to them, I say, "Hey, listen, I'm the lineman I am because of the way y'all whip my ass in practice."
Yeah. Who'd you face every day? Who was the guy across the line from you every day?
Well, yeah, it was Daniel Stubbs, Greg Mark, Bill Hawkins. I mean, these are all Americans.
Yeah.
Russell Maryland, Cortez Kennedy. I mean, these are the guys I had to face every day in practice. Bernard Clark, Michael Barrows, Jesse Armstead.
You just named a whole Pro Bowl team right there of players. That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about your draft night. I know you thought initially you were going to the Cowboys, right? Johnson called you up, said, "Hey, I got a shirt with your number on it," because they tried, correct me if I'm wrong, but they tried to trade up to get you, and you didn't get traded up. Next thing you know, the phone rings. It's Coach Cowher, and he says, "Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers." Tell us a little bit about it. How'd you feel? What was it like?
Well, this was back in the day when the draft was at noon. It's not prime time like it is now, 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
It was at noon time. So Coach Johnson called me. I knew exactly who it was when he called me. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. He said, "Leon," I said, "What's up, Coach?" He said, "You excited about the draft?" I said, "Yes, I am, sir." He said, "Well, we have the 17th pick in the draft, and you're going to be a Dallas Cowboy." I said, "Okay, Coach, that sounds great." He said, "Not typical Jimmy Johnson." He said, "You're not going to hold out, are you?" I said, "Nah, Coach." He said, "Well, we got a representative that just landed in Orlando. He'll be at your house in about 30 minutes. I said, "Okay, cool." So representative comes to my house, big burly white guy with the cowboy hat on and cowboy boots. He walks in my kitchen, grabs a beer, goes downstairs in the den, and he's negotiating my contract with my agent. So I'm a little relaxed because I figured that, I played for Coach Johnson.
Yeah, sure.
An easy transition from college to the pros because I played with Coach Johnson. But the draft comes on. They go, they're going on with the picks and everything. And Coach Johnson calls me again. He said, "Leon, it looks like there's a team that might pick you with the Steelers. We're going to try to make a move to get you from the Steelers because it seems like they have the 11th pick." It didn't work out. And then the next phone call I got was from Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher said, "Hey, Leon, how you feeling?" I said, "I'm feeling great, Coach." He said, "Well, in a couple of picks, you're going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler." He said the Cowboys tried to move up and get you, but we're not going to let it happen. You're going to be a Pittsburgh Steelers today. So I just sat there and I waited. And then when they called my name, I was just super excited to be a Steeler.
I know I was super excited to see you get drafted by them. I can tell you that. So you did a short stint there. What, 3-4 years? What happened?
I was with the Steelers for 4 years.
4 years, right. What happened? Why'd you move on? Because you were playing well for them.
Yeah, it was a situation where it was a miscommunication between them and me and my agent. And some words were said that I took emotionally. You got to understand, you can't let emotions get in the way of business.
Sure, it is business.
Yeah. So I let my emotions get the best of me. And then my agent, 2 days later, had the Jaguars waiting for me to become a Jaguar.
So when you made that move to the Jaguars, were there any other options on the table? Did Dallas come back at you and say, hey, Leon, let's make this deal now?
No, it was 3 teams in particular that were interested in me when I was a free agent. Because when I came out at free agency, I was a top 10 free agent. They had me number 5 as the top 5 free agent to come out. So, and we had just finished playing in the Super Bowl.
Right.
And Sports Illustrated had me in the magazine where they had me the best right tackle in the league. So that generated a lot more interest by a lot of the different teams. But the teams that were interested in me, of course, there was the Steelers wanted me to resign. The Jaguars wanted me. The Dolphins wanted me. The Eagles wanted me. And the Chargers were looking at me.
Leon, what was the Super Bowl experience like? I mean, I know that had to be something that,
Well, you're bringing up some bad memories now. You're bringing up some especially the loss. There's nothing worse than losing. It's probably the worst loss I have ever sustained in my whole career. It's nothing worse than losing a Super Bowl and another team's confetti is raining upon you. I mean, it was blue and silver, all, this raining from the ceiling. I knew we were the better team. I knew we beat them statistically in every category: yards, yards per carry, rushing, passing, total yards. I think the biggest difference is what I think the Cowboys, they had been there before, and we started late. We didn't really get our motor running until like a quarter and a half once we settled down. And then we made the adjustments at halftime, and we knew that we had just played our game. We would have an opportunity to win. And we had them on the ropes, going into the fourth quarter. And and God bless him. I know he gets a lot of flack for the 2 interceptions he threw. If Neil doesn't throw that interception, we win that game easily.
He made another guy a lot of money throwing 2 interceptions, didn't he?
Oh, my God. With Larry Brown, oh, my God, made him a multimillionaire for 2 picks. Oh. And you know what's funny? On my radio show, Dave Campo, who was the secondary coach for the Cowboys, comes to the radio show, and I asked him about Larry Brown and the interception. He said, Leon, first of all, we were scared to death to play him because we felt your receivers, it was a mismatch.
Right.
And he just happened to he said he just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Yep. No doubt about it. It's burned right here, Leon. Burned right here. So after that, you signed some pretty lucrative deal. You signed lucrative deals then after that. Did you have any idea coming out of high school that this is the path it was going to go for you? Because your mom was hard on you about those grades. You already said it. I mean, and you wanted to prove her wrong. You got that 3.75. You went out there and you did your thing. Did you think this kind of money would land in your lap, though, eventually?
Never. I never had any aspirations to go pro, to be quite honest with you, until one day a teammate of mine and we're at his house, and we're watching the 1990 NFL draft.
Yeah.
And Richmond Webb is drafted by the Miami Dolphins, right? So my teammate says, hey, Searcy, that's going to be you in a couple of years. And I really never thought about the NFL until he mentioned that at that one particular time, because my sole purpose in life was to be the best Miami Hurricane I could be. And it just so happened that I excelled and I flourished and I had an opportunity to go pro.
Okay, so I've coached a lot of high school ball. I've got some kids that are playing at Division I level. I mentor some kids that are going to go play at the Division I level. What kind of advice would you give to them right now if that's their aspiration?
If your aspiration is to go play at the next level, I would say you first of all, you got to love the game. You got to be committed to the game, and you got to marry it. You got to put a ring on it. It's got to be your life and your wife. Every day you've got to do something that's going to help you move to that next level, and it's not easy. I never had an easy day in my life at the University of Miami, but I was solely committed to being the very best. And in any relationship, any commitment, you got to put your heart into it.
Yeah,
you can't go on there half stepping because it won't be as fulfilling.
Who's your roommate at Miami?
Well, I had a few guys in my roommates in Miami. I'm trying to think of a guy that you would recognize because I had guys like Milton Biggins, Sean Williams, Willie Williams, Claude Jones. I had a plethora of guys that were my roommates. None of them ever went pro.
Went to the next level.
They were good friends of mine.
Oh, hey, that's what's important, though. They probably kept you motivated, right?
Yeah,
that's always important. So once your playing days end, you went right into coaching Florida International, if I'm correct. What was the transition like? How was it like going from being a player and having a player's mentality to going straight into coaching?
Well, first thing the biggest transition I had to make was the check. I went from NFL money to real life money.
Right.
Okay, all right. I went from making $50,000 every 2 weeks to making my salary at FIU when I first started was $30,000 for the year. So that was a huge transition.
That's teacher's money.
And that's what I've made. Now, initially, it got bumped up to like 55 the next year. But initially, when I came in there, my salary was $30,000 a year. And I was like, wow. I went from $50,000 every 2 weeks to making $30,000 a year.
You kept yourself a nice little nest egg, though, right? You had some things
absolutely.
that you put.
Absolutely.
So you were doing it for the love of the game, more or less. You miss coaching?
I do miss it. It was nothing more fulfilling than to put together a game plan or an agenda and see young kids go out there and execute and win football games. Now the recruiting part of it was a grind, and I didn't really like the recruiting part of it simply because I don't like lying to kids, okay?
Yeah.
And a lot of the stories that I had to tell the parents about, getting new facilities, getting new weight room, then all this and that, it never manifested or transpired during my time I was there.
Sure.
So a lot of the kids that I recruited and brought in never saw the real effects of what I was talking about, and that upset me very much.
I can't imagine it being fulfilling when you have to tell a kid something just to get them to.
Yeah, I like that process.
Hey, did you play with Aubrey Hill?
I didn't play with Aubrey Hill, but I knew Aubrey.
Yeah, that was tragic.
I knew of him, and I've spoken to him, and I was in South Florida at the time. He was coaching high school football, and we met on occasion. It's so sad to see him, have passed away. So that this is very sad for me.
It's tragic. I mean, you just
never know.
You got
48 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I think he came through my high school recruiting. I'm trying to think who he came through for, though. I don't remember at this point, but I'm pretty sure I did meet him. He came through recruiting. Tell us a little bit about Real Men Block. I know that's an initiative you had going on, and can you share some information about that? I'd love to know.
Well, my inspiration for Real Men Block kind of started from when after I finished coaching and I was doing a sports talk radio in Miami. I was on the side. My little side hustle was I would train the offensive linemen, getting them prepared for the combine.
Yeah.
Would call me up and, give me, a time period for me when I was going to train the guys. And most of the guys that used to come there, they come with mismatched shirts, mismatched this and whatever. And I said to myself, why isn't there a sports apparel line specific to offensive linemen? I said, and I checked around and I said, Now you've got your Nike and Adidas, and they try to fit to big men, but I wanted my sports apparel line to be specific to offensive linemen. You know, for linemen to take pride to being a lineman, because I've always wanted to be a lineman, believe it or not. I know most people say, well, I want to be a quarterback, running back. No, I love being a lineman. So I created the sports apparel line called Real Men Block, and it's in a transition right now, but it's going to be a sports apparel line specific to all your offensive lineman needs, whether it be shirts, apparel. I'm going to get into gloves. I'm going to get into equipment. I'm going to get into training facilities and all that kind of stuff. So I just thought it'd be kind of cool to have a sports apparel line specific to offensive linemen.
Are you going to try and get some camps going with that too? Like kind of intertwine it with some camps with the big men?
Absolutely.
I just feel like the big men don't get the camps or anything. Like I said, I coached forever, and there's 7-on-7, and every once in a while you got a big man camp that runs off to the side.
Well, before everything hit with the COVID, me and Warren Sapp were supposed to do O-line, D-line tour in Florida. His name of his company is called Quarterback Killers. It was going to be Quarterback Killers versus Real Men Block. And we had it all set to run this summer. We were going to start in Orlando, do Tampa, do Miami, do Jacksonville. We were going to take it up to Savannah, Atlanta, but everything broke down because everything was going on. But well, hopefully next year we can still do it, but everything broke down because everything that went on with the COVID.
It's amazing. I'm trying to keep up with what's going on in the NFL camps, and you can't even really do that. You just don't get the good insight, the good pictures, the good video. I mean, it just has everything all screwed up. I hope they play the games because I'm feeding for football myself.
I hope so too.
How's your gig with 1010XL in Jacksonville? Is that where you are?
Mm-hmm.
How's that for you? You like the radio program?
It's doing well. I've been with 1010XL now for going on 3 years. It's the flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
I work with some amazing guys. Joe Coward, Ryan the Hacker Green, Matt Hayes. He's a senior writer for Bleacher Report.
Okay.
And we do a show from 12 to 3, Monday through Friday. It's called Lunch with Leon. I enjoy it. I absolutely love it.
You have any insight on Jacksonville going into the season? What are they going to be like?
Well, they're going to be young. And they're going to be depending on a lot of youth. And that doesn't always spell well with the NFL,
Right.
I think the teams that are going to succeed this year amidst the COVID is going to be teams that have veteran leadership, teams that have been together for a while, and they've got some continuity, and they stay healthy. And the Jaguars right now are, real young, don't have a lot of veteran leadership, so I'm not expecting that much out of them, but hopefully they can exceed my expectations.
How about, in your opinion, is Minshew the answer at quarterback?
I don't know. What's going on, babe? Sorry about that. All right. I love you, baby. I'm not sure. I mean, listen, he had a stellar year for a rookie last year.
Yeah,
he threw for over 3,000 yards. He threw over 20 touchdowns, only had 6 picks, but he had 10 turnovers. He's got to learn to take care of the ball a lot better. But they're just so young. And then we've had injuries and we've had opt-outs and retirements on the defensive line position. So we're depleted in that area. So it's a wait and see to be announced.
Is Leonard Fournette going to be happy? I mean, they had him dangling out there to try and trade him. I actually thought he might get moved to the Steelers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think this is Leonard's contract year. So I think that, he'll probably have a successful year and he'll probably move on to another team.
He played well last year.
He did. He played very well. Yeah.
I didn't understand why they wanted to move him, but I guess if you're going youth movement, you're going to be looking for that young back in the draft.
There isn't a very high. The running back position now is not as a high commodity as it may have been about 2 years ago. So that's unfortunate. So these running backs are pretty much expendable, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You got a 3-back game now. One guy comes in, made tote to rock twice. Another guy comes in. Yeah. It's definitely, I get it. So you've got your autobiography coming out, Fourth Down and Damn. So tell us about it. What's going on with your autobiography? What are you putting out there for us to understand?
Well, it's done now. We're in the transition of getting copies made. We're in the transition of starting to market and promote it.
Okay.
It's more than likely like 30 days out before it comes out, and it's just my autobiography. I mean, it's a tell-all, a true serum book about, me growing up, playing high school ball, playing at Miami, playing at the Steelers, Jaguars, and then my life after football, which wasn't always so pleasant. And it's a precautionary tale to a lot of athletes that go on and play in the league about making the right decisions, surrounding yourself with the right people, and making the right choices. So not only is it inspirational, but it's also it's a warning sign to what could happen if you don't make the right decisions in life. So it's been very therapeutic for me because I've read the book already. I've been inspired. I've cried. I've laughed. I asked myself, "Damn, did I do that?" So I mean, it's appropriate that it's called "Damn" because initially "Damn" was an acronym for Diary of an Athlete's Memoirs and Notes.
Oh wow!
So I just decided to add the football aspect in it and put it Fourth Down and Damn, a lineman story.
I'm looking forward to reading it because I want to hear a lot of. I know I did some research because I wanted to be able to have a great conversation with you, but I think there's probably a lot more that you tell in that book that I'd like to know. I know one thing that you probably don't talk about in there, though. The locker room today compared to the locker room when you played, how different do you think it is?
I think it's more accountability when I played. A lot of these kids, because of social media, are concerned about their brands and how they look and how they're perceived. I think when I played, it was more about the team. It was all about winning, especially in Pittsburgh and when I was a Jaguar. It was about a collective body of souls coming together to win some freaking football game. It wasn't about how I look on this post and that post and what I'm saying on social media. A lot of the stuff these kids post on social media now that concerns football would not be taken kindly in the locker room when I played, because it seems to be a lot of self-football going on and not a lot of team football going on, which is unfortunate. And I know a lot of these kids now, and this is a different era, they wouldn't survive in the locker room when I played. They wouldn't.
I wouldn't think so.
Any inkling of you doing anything selfish, there was enough veteran leadership in the locker room where they would call you to the table, and they would personally get in your ass. To be quite honest with you.
You still follow the Steelers at all?
Huh?
Do you follow the Steelers closely?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So do you think that could be part of the reason they've missed the playoffs the last couple of years? Because I get a sense that Coach Tomlin has his thumb on the heartbeat of that team, but I think they might not have that strength in that locker room like they did when you played.
Well, I tell you what, Coach Tomlin last year should have been Coach of the Year, to be quite honest with you. When you go through 4 quarterbacks and you lose Big Ben and you still able to go 8-8 and only miss the playoffs by 1 game, that's a hell of a coaching job right there.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Right there. So, listen, the one thing that I've always said about the Steelers when I was there is that they had a commitment to excellence. From the management to the guy who put your clothes in your locker, there was a commitment to excellence and championship. And when you walked in that lobby and you saw them Lombardis, you knew that the Steelers were the real deal. So I've always had the most profound respect for the Pittsburgh Steelers because they've always been committed to excellence and being a champion. So they'll turn it around. They'll be fine. I think Coach Tomlin did a hell of a job last year in coaching. So hopefully if Big Ben can stay healthy, if he can stay healthy, they'll be in the running for the playoffs this year.
You think they can compete against somebody like Kansas City, though? I mean, I know the defense is going to be pretty good.
Well, Kansas City is the darling right now.
Right.
Okay. You know, they're the pretty girl in the dress. Okay. Everybody's kissing their ring.
Yeah.
But last time I checked, you still got to line up across. You still got to line up and play ball.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a hard team to beat, but they're not going to just walk through the AFC because you got Buffalo's going to be tough. You got Steelers going to be back. The Ravens are going to be tough. The Titans are going to be tough. The Houston Texans are going to be tough. So I mean, they're not going to just scroll through the park and just win the AFC. Undoubtedly, they're going to have to fist fight to get up out of there this year. Trust me.
Hey, you were the first. I'm sure you know this, but I found this to be astounding to me. You were the first draft pick post Chuck Noll era. How did you feel about that?
I felt great. I was Bill Cowher's first pick ever. So that was pretty amazing for me. And going to Pittsburgh was, listen, I love the Steelers fans. I mean, it reminded me so much of my college atmosphere as far as the enthusiasm towards their team and the game. It was nothing like running out of that tunnel hearing, at number 72 from the University of Miami, Leon, and I run through that tunnel, and I come out there and you see 60, 70,000 terrible towels waving. No better feeling than that.
I bet. I can only imagine how it would be.
It's giving me chills thinking about it right now.
Yeah, you seem like a pretty emotional guy from a lot of stuff I read about you. I really enjoyed reading all that and just seeing the kind of guy you are, which, again, motivates me to want to read that book as soon as it hits the shelves. When's it supposed to hit the shelves?
Well, we don't want to give an actual date. I think we're going to probably get an actual date within the next 2 weeks because we're finalizing. Well, the book is done. The cover is done. We're going to start hitting the social media. So within the next 10 to 12 days, we're going to come out with an actual due date once we get more information. But it's coming, trust me.
Okay, I'll be looking for it. Hey, Leon, I always ask my guests this. This is my last question to you. What would you have done if you weren't a professional football player? Because you're a bright guy.
I don't know.
You seem motivated.
I think I was kind of born to do this. But you know what? I love, even more so than playing football, I love mentoring the young men.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of guys who are offensive linemen now who are dealing with the issue of maybe they're playing football or not. I got one kid in UCF who's a redshirt freshman. I got another kid at University of Minnesota. And I got another kid at Georgia Tech. And then what I do is, I get up in the morning and I call. I get up in the morning and I text them I get your ass up. I say, get up and do something. Stay motivated. Keep your competitive edge because right now, they're a little leery about how the season, if they're going to even have a season.
Right.
So I tell them, hey, look, you got to stay motivated, man. This is your craft. All right. Your offensive line is a craft. And I say, you've always got to be doing something that's going to enhance your ability to play at the next level. So I stay on them, and I like the response that I get from the kids. It's motivating to me because, I didn't have that, when I was playing. I was self-motivated.
Right.
So I always like to give that, whatever information that I've acquired while I was playing, I like to spread that on to the young guys, so they can inspire to greatness as well.
I try to pattern myself in a lot of ways after what you just said. I've walked away from coaching after doing it for 20 years just because my kids were growing up. But I always try and get a group of kids that I work with. I do the same thing. Text them, make sure that they're on top of things. I keep food in my classroom for them. I give them a place to come if they need at lunchtime, if they're having some issues during the day. I get it, man. And those kids respect what you do. They may not tell you.
Mm-hmm.
They respect what you do more than you can ever imagine because nobody else is going to look out for them sometimes.
Absolutely. Your
poor kid who's playing at Minnesota, they're probably not going to play, right? They canceled the Big Ten.
Yeah, more than likely, yeah. And he's a redshirt left guard. He's 6'6", 325 pounds. A redshirt freshman.
Ooh, that's a big boy right there.
That's a big guy, yeah.
How's his feet?
I don't know. I haven't seen any film on him. I just got introduced to him about 2 weeks ago.
We know what's going to happen when you get him in person, though. You're going to be working the feet, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Feed them fundamentals.
Yes, sir. Okay, so my final segment is this. I always do this at the end. I ask somebody to give me a decade definer, but for you, we're going to change it just a little bit. You've seen some really high caliber professional defensive linemen in the NFL. I want you to give me, I don't know, say 4 of the best defensive linemen you ever played against.
Okay, at number 4, well, we can go 5. At number 5 would be Michael Strahan. Michael Strahan was tough, physical, good with his hands, had a great molder, great finisher. Never got a sack on me, by the way. All right? I just want to make sure I mention that. At number 4 would be William Fuller. William Fuller was an old school defensive end. He was with the Houston Oilers and played against he played with the Philadelphia Eagles. Only man to get 3 sacks on me my first year as a starter.
Wow.
So, but I had to redeem myself when he went to the Eagles. I had to redeem myself and put them hands on him, and he got no sacks to give it. So that's number 4. Number 3 would be Rob Burnett. Rob Burnett was a defensive end that played with the Cleveland Browns and with the Baltimore Ravens. Real physical, long, lean, tough. Always gave me a handful. He always gave me something. He made my life miserable. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Number 2, I would say as a tie. Number 2 would be Derek Thomas and Peter Boulware. Both guys were quick, fast, and elusive. Never could really get any hands on them. You really had to move your feet. You couldn't overcommit to them because they would give you a double move and give you a head shake, and very slippery. Both guys were very slippery. That was number 2. But my number 1 pass rusher of all time that I faced is the late, great Reggie White.
Oh, wow.
Reggie White was the toughest that I ever – and although he was a handful, and I played him in December in the frozen tundra, he had 5 tackles, but he had no sacks.
Reggie,
so those are my top 5.
He seemed like the kind of guy who would give you a pat in the back, too, each time you took him out of the play. He just –
oh, yeah.
Seemed like
Reggie White.
I noticed you had 2 Ravens in there, Boulware and who else? Did you say Burnett? Wasn't Burnett
yes.
Yeah, I noticed that. The Ravens, I always say this, and maybe you don't feel the same way, but I always say the Steelers and the Ravens, you can change uniforms, but you're basically getting the same thing. At least defensively, you get the same thing from those teams.
Yes. The Ravens, when I was with the Jaguars, or even when I was the Steelers with the Browns, they were always my toughest teams we had to play against. When I was with the Steelers, it was the Browns, and when I was with the Jaguars, it was the Ravens.
You think Lamar Jackson can repeat last year's performance?
I think he can, but that doesn't matter because legacies are made in the postseason. All right, you can play as good as you play in the regular season, and people will remember it, but it'll go away. Legends are made in December and January and February. So until he gets that perennial monkey off his back, because right now he's 0 for 2 in the playoffs.
Yeah. And
he had a stacked team that was ready to go to the Super Bowl, but he didn't play well.
No.
So he's got to play well if he wants his legacy. Now, I know he was an MVP, but your legacy is made in the postseason. Yeah. Until he starts performing better in the postseason, he'll just be a regular season guy.
Yeah, I can clearly see what you're saying. I always say that, from my perspective, I watch the kid play. He's 1 hit away from his career being over as a quarterback running as much as he does. I can't remember if you played with Cordell or not, but Cordell was –
Yeah, I played with Slash, yeah.
Yeah, so he was so dynamic and exciting to watch and everything. But, he wasn't that full-time quarterback, and I think that's what made him the player he was, even though Bill tried to make him that full-time quarterback. I'm just worried about Lamar taking that hit because D linemen can run today, and they can run fast. And, you got even linebackers. They're going to track him down. They catch him the wrong way, and look out. Look out. Hey, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Everybody be looking out for Leon's book coming out in the not so distant future, Fourth Down and Damn. And if you're in Jacksonville, tune in to Leon on 1010 XL for his show every day. You take care. Best of luck with Real Men Block and all your future endeavors. And we'll be talking.
You got to stay in contact with me.
I will, Leon. I will. Take care now.
All right, buddy. Be good.
You too.